Welcome back to Star Gossip, your home for the stories behind the headlines. It is often said that no matter who you are to the world, a mogul, an icon, or a headline, to your children, you are simply dad. And nowhere was that truth more piercing than inside a Manhattan federal courtroom this past October. The world was watching as Sean Diddy Combs faced his reckoning, sentenced to 50 months after a high-profile conviction. But while the cameras outside flashed and the internet buzzed with opinions, inside those walls, a very different, deeply human story was unfolding. It wasn't about the business empire or the legal battles. It was about a family holding on to each other. For the first time, we heard directly from the people most affected by this saga, Diddy's children. 6 of his 7 kids walked into that courtroom, not as celebrities, but as sons and daughters fighting for the man they love. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a united front in the face of their father's hardest chapter. And their words, they were raw, they were heartbreaking, and they painted a picture of a man the public rarely sees. Quincy Brown, the son Diddy helped raise with the late Kim Porter, was the first to speak. His message wasn't about excusing the past, but acknowledging the present. He looked the judge in the eye and described a transformation. "We're going to love him unconditionally through his struggles," Quincy said. He spoke of a changed man, someone who had evolved in ways they hadn't seen in 15 years. To Quincy, the man standing before the court wasn't the mogul the world debates. It was a father who had finally, truly started to listen. Then there was Justin. He called his father his superhero. Can you imagine the weight of that word in a federal courtroom? He pleaded for a second chance, not just for Diddy, but for the family to have their dad back. Christian, or King Combs, echoed that sentiment. He told the court, "He is my hero, has always been my hero, and always will be my hero." He spoke about the values Diddy instilled in him, specifically the importance of treating women with respect, a statement that carried heavy significance given the charges. But perhaps the most emotional moments came from the daughters. Jessie and Delilah, the twins who lost their mother Kim Porter tragically in 2018, now faced the possibility of losing their father to prison. Jessie was incredibly honest. She didn't hide from the truth. She admitted that her father isn't perfect and has made many mistakes. But she reminded the judge he is still our dad and we still need him present in our lives. And then a moment that could break any heart. Delilah brought up their youngest sister, Little Love, who was only 2 years old. Love wasn't in the courtroom, but her presence was felt. Dilla shared their terrifying reality. "We are scared for our 2-year-old little sister that runs to us every night asking where daddy is." She told the court they couldn't bear to watch another sister grow up fatherless, referencing their own painful history. It was a plea not for fame or reputation, but for the simple fundamental need of a child for their parent. Diddy himself was visibly moved. When it was his turn to speak, the confidence and bravado we've known for decades were gone. He apologized to his family. He looked at his children and said the words that haunt every parent's nightmares. "I failed as a father." He told them, "Y'all deserve better." It was a moment of total vulnerability, a man stripped of his titles, left only with his regrets and his love for his kids. While this emotional scene played out in court, a different storm was brewing on Netflix. The documentary Sean Combs: The Reckoning had just dropped, diving into the darker allegations. Interestingly, the children have remained completely silent about the series. While Diddy's team has slammed it as a shameful hit piece, relying on stolen footage, his kids have chosen to focus entirely on the man they know, rather than the character on the screen. To truly understand the weight of this fall, we have to remember the height of the rise. The story of Sean Combs didn't start in a mansion, it started in Harlem. Born in 1969, his life was touched by tragedy early on. His father, Melvin, was killed when Son was just a toddler. That loss left a hole that Diddy would spend a lifetime trying to fill. Raised by his strong mother Janice in Mount Vernon, he was a dreamer. He went to Howard University, but the classroom couldn't contain his energy. He dropped out to intern at Uptown Records, commuting back and forth on trains, hungry to make his mark. And he made a mark. After being fired from Uptown, a setback that would have stopped most people, he founded Bad Boy Records in 1993. He didn't just build a label, he built a culture. With the notorious B.I.G. by his side, he defined the sound of the East Coast. But when Biggie was murdered in 1997, Diddy was forced to reinvent himself again. He stepped out from behind a producer's desk and became the artist, channeling his grief into No Way Out and the tribute anthem, I'll Be Missing You. Over the next 2 decades, he became the definition of the American hustle. He launched Sean Jun, winning fashion awards usually reserved for Paris designers. He turns to rock vodka into a lifestyle. He launched Revolt TV. He was the first hip-hop billionaire. He was the man who couldn't be stopped. But behind the sunglasses and the private jets, the heart of his world was always his family. His relationship with Kim Porter was legendary, a soulmate connection that spanned decades. Even when they weren't together, they were a unit. When she passed away in 2018, it shattered him. Many say he was never quite the same after losing her. She was his anchor. And that brings us back to today. The journey from the ambitious intern in Harlem to the mogul on top of the world, and now to a federal inmate. It is a Shakespearean tragedy of epic proportions. But beneath the rise and the fall, there are 7 children who just want their dad to come home. Diddy's sentence is set for 50 months. For the world, that's a news cycle. For Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance, Delilah, Jesse, and Little Love, it's a lifetime of missed birthdays, graduations, and quiet moments. No matter what the court of opinion decides, one thing was made clear in that courtroom. The bond of this family is unbreakable. They are choosing to heal, to support, and to wait. What do you think of the children's statements? Does hearing their side change how you view the situation? Let's talk about it in the comments below, but let's keep it respectful, remembering there are real hearts involved here. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe to Star Gossip. We'll be here to keep you updated on this story and so much more. Until next time, take care of each other.